Okay, folks, so I want to share a little bit more here from this report to the President and the Congress, National Weather Modification Policies and Programs from 1979 from the U.S. Department of Commerce, just to just to keep reiterating the fact that weather modification is not a conspiracy. I mean, technically, if you really want to look at it, the only conspiracy that was going on was these people developing these policies and introducing these acts and all of this stuff on and the National Weather Modification Policy Act, 1976. The only conspiracy really is them going behind our backs and working out deals ahead of time with law professionals and, legal professionals and people involved with insurance companies so that they can cover their asses so they're not held responsible when things go wrong. You know, it's just not a conspiracy the way that they say that it is. It's going on. It's been going on. They've conducted several tests without our consent in several different states. It's been ongoing. California's had an ongoing, long standing. So has Texas. Then in this report here, they talk about, several different tests and projects. And to anybody that doesn't believe that they've been doing this for decades, that you're really naive, because they have been. They've been subjecting us to this type of weather modification techniques and technologies and things, and it's changing up now they're throwing in, introducing energies and different things into the upper atmosphere too. So but I wanted to go back here to the summary of major findings in one and just reiterate in this first paragraph where they talk about using it in the attempts to clear fog. A cloud seeding technology currently exists. It is employed commercially in this country in attempts to clear fog from airports, to augment snowpacks in mountainous regions, to increase rain from summer showers, and to reduce destruction by hail. Hail suppression, I talked about that a few different times. And it talks about the federal government has sponsored weather modification research since cloud seeding became a scientific reality in 1946, folks. Let me repeat that. The federal government has sponsored weather modification research since cloud seeding became a scientific reality in 1946. They've been doing it for a very long time. Techniques for clearing supercooled fog from airport runways are now proven. And I tell you what, we really got to question this super fog in Louisiana, folks. I mean, for real. Yeah, this needs to be questioned really deep and investigated. And it should not just be, NOAA should not be allowed to just go and put forth their definition of what they feel is going on here with this super fog that causes these deadly crashes and injuries, right? Yeah. We should not allow NOAA to just put forth a narrative and control it without a full investigation. I mean, it just happened, right? And NOAA is already coming forward. National Weather Service always has an explanation for these things, don't they? Right? So now anybody that was in this and experienced this and went through this, anyone that, dares to come forward and say that, well, this just didn't feel right. And their experience to them and what their biological being perceived was not natural. Anyone coming forward and saying anything like that is going to be challenged. They've already put forth their definition and they've already defined it and said what it is. That they've defined it as some kind of super fog that forms when mixtures of smoke and moisture are released at a certain temperature in the atmosphere. They already got an explanation for super fog that killed 7 people and injured 25. Changed people's lives forever. The Weather Service already has an explanation, folks. Is anybody going to even be allowed to question it? I'm just saying, it's not. Some of these things just are not natural. We should be questioning. And when we know through their own publications that they have been running these experiments for decades with the types of technologies that clear fog, not just clear fog, but create fog as well, because it's been used as a weapon in other countries to create fog and to create masks for, military installations and everything too. But they talk about different randomized tests and everything in this publication. I've talked about it before. I've mentioned it many times before. Even in, Florida, California, they talk about tests of dynamic seeding concept were conducted in Pennsylvania, Arizona, the Caribbean, and southern Florida during the late 60s. And they even talk about South Dakota School of Mine. Randomized tests of seeding winter cumulus clouds for increasing rainfall were carried out in Israel between 1961 and 1967, and then between 1969 and 1975. So for anyone also that doesn't want to believe that our government wouldn't do experimental tests against our consent without our knowledge, you really need to wise up to that too. I want to go through, this is the summary of major findings, item 2. I want to read some of this too. And there was one particular paragraph that I wanted to really highlight where, let's see, they talk about the different cloud seeding. Yeah, and they actually mentioned, like, even the Great Lakes. Promising research has been conducted on augmenting precipitation from winter cumulus clouds and cloud bands, especially in California and over the Great Lakes. Further test of seeding techniques applicable to these cloud systems is warranted. So they went ahead and just gave themselves the liberty to go ahead and affect the weather over the Great Lakes and affect the Great Lakes water in California. And I do think that it's curious here too. I'm sorry, I'm going to scroll through this real quick. I'm not just going to read every paragraph word for word because there was a couple of other things that I wanted to touch on that were mentioned in this as well. But finally, it says the Weather Modification Advisory Board also briefly examined a number of other weather management techniques. This is why I wanted to skip to this, is because some of the techniques that they're using now involve releasing energies. When they mention here that a number of other weather management techniques beyond cloud seeding that might play a role in the future. They recommended that a small percentage of the national effort be devoted in the later stages of a long-term research program to techniques of concentrating energies and moisture to penetrate stable atmospheric layers, to dissipate fog or smog, suppressing lightning discharges, enhancing convection by altering land surface, by dispersing carbon black or substances with similar radiative properties, and using space or surface power parks for enhancing rainfall or air circulation. Surface power parks, huh? As the board recognized, research on these techniques is at such an early stage that current investment of substantial federal funds cannot now be expected to produce returns in terms of practical weather modification technology to the same extent as investments in research of the types discussed above. And when you want to talk about carbon black, let's talk about carbon black a little bit. Let's talk about what carbon black is, folks. Okay? And one of the major distributors, the largest, the premium supplier of carbon black products